Hello, this is Professor Kim Nelson with the Jewelry Design Department at the Fashion Institute of Technology with another tutorial in our series of tutorials. This is for JD 139 and doing a tutorial on how to set up a tracing file for Painter. First thing you need to have is an image. So I just need something I can draw from. Okay, this will work. Okay, I'm going to trace the frog. Just going to borrow him from this file and put him in a new file. So that'll be my image. Once you bring the image in, you want to drop it. It'll come in as a layer if you copy and paste it from another file. So you want to take this layer and drop it to the canvas. I like to hit the maximize button on this window so that it fills my entire screen. I can always bring it back by clicking on the minimize window. So here we go. I zoom into where I have a pretty good view of what I'm doing. I'm going to now add a layer right here. I'm going to name that layer by double clicking on it. Calling this one tracing. I need to turn it into a tracing paper. To do that, I'm going to zoom out. Now I'm zooming out by Control-Alt click, Control-Alt spacebar click. Zoom in by Control spacebar click. Okay? But you can also do it by hitting this radio button on the navigator and zooming in and out. Remember that pan is just holding the spacebar down. Okay, but I want to zoom out so I can see my whole page. Going to Control A, that's select all. Okay, you could actually get it from this menu as well, but it shows you the shortcut is right here. Control A. I'm going to get my paint bucket tool, and I'm going to make sure that I have white. You'll remember from our discussion in class that we can pull white off our color mixer right here. All the numbers are 255. You can also pull it off your color set library right here. Anywhere you want to get it, get white, and just click with your paint bucket tool, and your drawing will disappear. Want to select none, which is Control D, or you could have selected select none off the select menu. This is now my tracing paper. Turn it off, I can see my drawing. Turn it on, I can't. To actually convert it into tracing paper, I'm going to move the opacity slider down until my drawing is as clear as I want it to be. I'm going to activate my brush. I like to usually trace in color, just because it's easy for me to tell where I've been. Pick a good brush size for what I want to do. I also want to make sure that my alternative color on the color swatch is set to white, so that when I go back and forth using my shortcut, which is Shift X, I go from draw to erase, draw to erase. Now remember, some of you I showed in class, to change the settings so that you can actually control this toggle from your pen, you go to, whenever Painter asks you this, just say no. I'm going to go to All Programs, Wacom Tablet, Wacom Properties, and you'll get the Wacom dialog box. At least we should get the Wacom dialog box. Here it is. Hello. For some reason, I am not bringing it up. That's a little bit scary. I may have to show you in class. Yes, for some reason, I am unable to access this. I'm going to use the mouse. My Wacom mouse. There's a reason mine might be acting up. And that's because I have it set to where it shows on another monitor. Okay, I don't want to distract you guys. I know how I can go find it, but I don't want to distract you by me going to go do that right now. But in class, I'll show you how it's done. You can set this to toggle these colors directly. So I'm going to start to trace now. Make sure my tracing layer is active. Whatever layer you have active is the layer you're drawing on. So if you have canvas active, you're drawing on canvas. Okay? By the way, remember to cut things, we just use select. Okay, that's this tool right here. You'll see I never reach over and do this. And the reason I never do that is we have a shortcut for that, R. I just hit R, enter, and it gives me the same tool. In fact, I shouldn't have to even hit R. If I just R, enter, I should be able to just hit the key R, and it'll give it to me. So if I do that, if I select the frog on the canvas, if I select on the tracing paper and I try and delete it, which is Control X, Rhino will just cut a hole in the tracing paper. Didn't hurt the frog at all. If I select on the canvas and I hit Control X, I cut my drawing away. Okay? Don't want to do that, just showing you how it works. So, on to tracing. I want to make sure my settings are good. I like to have high grain when I'm tracing. I also like to have it not so opaque, maybe 40%. Now I can zoom way in here and really finesse this line. But I don't want to start doing that. I want to start out at a comfortable distance with a reasonable brush diameter. And to just trace my frog. Where you start your stroke can be important, because if you try and go in and match where you started the stroke, it can be difficult. Okay, not exactly riveting viewing, I know. Okay. And I will not trace the whole frog. You don't have the time for me to do that, and I don't have the time for me to do that. By the way, whenever I make a line I don't like, I'm hitting Control Z. That's undo. Okay, that's enough to demonstrate the principle. Now, I want to go in now and treat the tracing as its own drawing, because it's going to look a lot tidier with the original drawing underneath it. But if I take this to 100% now, you will see the actual quality of my trace line. And now I can go in and clean it up by changing it back and forth from white to blue. I can refine my line as much as I want to. And now I'll take the grain down a little bit so that the surface of the paper shows through a little less. I also will probably drop my brush diameter down a little bit. Never take your brush below 1.4. Anything below 1.4 is meaningless when you try and print it out. Plus, Painter has a hard time controlling the brush well below 1.4. 1.4 is an incredibly sharp pencil. Okay, so I can come in here and sweeten this line work up all I want. If I'm having a hard time with things working together well, I will put the grain back up. The grain allows you to blend your pencil strokes a lot easier. The paper allows you to have a softer effect, just like with real art materials. If you're working with a pencil and you work on a plate finish paper, a real hard finish, every mark is like embossed and you can't even erase it, and you can very clearly see where every stroke begins and ends. Whereas if you work with a soft, rough-toothed paper, everything kind of blends together for you and you get a softer drawing. Same. Okay, I'm not going to spend really any more time with this. I just wanted to show you how it was done. Okay, now the last thing to be aware of is that I probably don't want a blue frog. The blue line was nice because it helped me separate it from my tracing underneath, so I didn't get confused as to what the old lines were versus the new lines. Okay, but now that I'm in theory done with my drawing, I want it to go back to being a normal color, and to do that I go to Effects, Tonal Control, Adjust Colors, and the slider for saturation will be moved all the way to the left. And that will take my drawing back to black and white. And I can make it darker or lighter by going Effects, Tonal Control, Brightness, Contrast, and by sliding the little sundial here down, I can darken or lighten my lines. Okay. Then hit Apply. If I want to start drawing again on here and I don't want to use blue, I want it to match, I'll zoom in and I'll pick the eyedrop tool, which is also the Alt keyboard shortcut, just holding down Alt. Click in the middle of the dark area and this color will update. I'll click in the darkest spot I can find, and that will now allow me, B will take me back to brushstroke. That will now allow me to continue working on the drawing if I want to in the grayscale. And I can always compare this to my original by either changing the transparency or just turning it off and on. Okay. Now you can see I've already got a cleaner drawing than my original, which is crazy. It doesn't need to be this tidy. If I print this out, it'll just be a faint line. This is much better, this thickness. Okay. So anyway, that is how it's done. Thanks for watching, class.